Let me share my book with you all. Hopefully it will work today. Yes, way better when I'm at home. So I see some people just join us. So good morning. Good morning to everyone again. So today we are continuing the chapter 4, emanation of physical manifestation. Last week we have stopped on the item 75. So I will start to read from where I highlighted, just to remind us all, and then I will continue. I really would like to ask you all to participate with questions, comments, experiences, because that's what makes us really profit from this study. In certain individuals, there is a kind of emanation of the fluids as results of participation, particular conditions of the physical composition, which is, properly speaking, what produces physical effects, mediums. The greater or lesser abundance of the emanation of this animalized fluid and the ease with which it is combined determines the medium's power. This emanation is not permanent, however, which explains the intermittency of the ability. Why I wanted to remind us this part of the test, because there are a couple of things that I think is positive to us to talk about. First of all, mediumship is organic, right? And as such, we need to understand that the mediumship is directly related also to our physical body. Okay? Continuing that sentence, he says that we may have greater or lesser abundance of the fluids. And not only that, it may vary from time to time, from periods of our existence. It is fair to say that mediumship as a whole, not only mediumship, not only physical effects, may stop or may start even when we have, let's say, high age. Not necessarily we need to start mediumship from when we are young. Not necessarily we need to maintain the same level of mediumship through our lives. It depends from case to case, from need to need. And that is something that I think is very important to keep in mind. Why? Because mediumship also evolves. Today, I do not feel anything. Tomorrow, I may start to feel a couple of things. Today, I'm only able to write. Tomorrow, I may be able to see. I may be able to hear. I may be able to do other things. So we need to know that it's not because today I only write, that's it. No, things may change, things may evolve. And to be able to know if things are changing, there's only one way: to make experiments. And a lot of people today are afraid of doing so. So that's one point. If you remember, last week I've spoken about organic, mediumship as organic. I thought about even show some slides here, but I thought would eat a lot of our study. So I'm going to be only talking about it. And if you feel like in another opportunity, we may go with the slides or something like that. When we talk about organic, it's very natural that the first thing that comes to our mind is indeed our physical body, right? organic. What if I throw another aspect in this equation? What if we start to consider that when we are on the spiritual realm, our spiritual body, that is exactly the same as our physical body, and I think we all agree with that, based on the Spiritism teachings, we always says that the physical body is connected to the spiritual body, to the perispirits, molecule by molecule, cell by cell. So if that is correct, I have exactly the same organs in my perispirit as I have in my physical body. Otherwise, this sentence is not correct. Do you agree with that? Do you have any quarrel with that? That's my question for you guys. Do you agree with that?
Can you repeat it, please?
Of course. If I agree with the Spiritist teachings that my physical body is connected to my perispirit, molecule by molecule, it means cell by cell. As a consequence, it means that my spiritual body has exactly the same organs, functionalities as my physical body. Do you agree with that, Jack?
Okay. Maybe I have a question before I can answer the question.
Remember that to answer your question, I may also have another question.
Perfect. I like this. Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that you've described amazingly well the connection. However, and you might have not asked that, but that's what I understood from the question. Our spirit is somewhat confined in our body, right?
Nope, that's not what I'm asking.
Exactly. So,
do you agree with what the Spiritism teachings
yes,
teach us?
Yeah.
That our perispirit is connected cell by cell to our physical body. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Is everyone okay with that?
I have a reservation about that because there can be a delay. For example, I had my right kidney removed, and I had some spiritual healing, and the spiritual healer said to me, "It's funny because I know your physical kidney has been removed, but your spiritual kidney is really healthy because I can feel it." You know, so I don't know if there is a delay between something big like that happening. Do you know what I mean? So I suppose I agree, but with an exception like that.
That's a different thing, right? Because you remove the physical organ, not necessarily your spiritual organ will be removed. That's a totally different thing. Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
That's not, I don't think it's the same thing.
That's it. Yeah.
But the question is, you had a kidney on your physical body.
Yeah.
And you also had a kidney on your spiritual body, right?
Yeah.
So, Munir, I see your hand. Sorry, I didn't see before. Go on.
No problem, Guilherme. It's a very interesting question, Guilherme. What I see is that because the perispirit is very plastic, while we have a physical body, it may adapt itself and have a similar organs, or sort of the same mold, or at least the mold for the physical body. But my question is, who keeps the fluidic body the way it is, because it's made of fluids, and the fluids you can change with thought power. And my question is, what keeps the integrity of the perispirit in the human form? I have an idea. I mean, this is, through these years reading, and I have the idea that is our minds, the spirit, the essence, projecting due to the experiences through, incarnations. It keeps a kind of memory and irradiates these thoughts, creating the body around it. And I see that when someone, for instance, in the physical body loses an arm, some, when return to spirits, they still don't have that arm that they lost. Why is that? And we know that slowly they may recover that arm, but it's not a conscious process for those who are not evolved. More evolved spirits, they have a control, and they can. But what I see is that the physical body also gives us, I wouldn't say experience, but gives us the spirit, the essence, the shape, the form that we need. But our mind is the one that keeps all these experiences and then projects that onto the perispirit. Because my question is, since it's fluidic, it's fluids made out of the universal cosmic fluid, what keeps the integrity of the perispirit? And when we come to an incarnation, I think the physical body, it is for that period of time, because there is the need for this cell by cell or molecule by molecule to be connected, that it keeps the perispirit like that. What I'm trying to say is that if I return to spirit and I'm evolved enough, I have control of this process, I may be able consciously to transform my perispirit, and the more I evolve, the greater the control I have over conscious. It's like breathing. We are not aware that we are breathing all the time. This is a sort of autonomous process. But if you're aware of that, you may control your breathing process. And I think with the perispirit, it's more or less like that. We are not aware, and we project our experience as spirits incarnating through physical bodies, time after time. We project that onto the perispirits, and through incarnation, we change that as well. But we may get to a point where, through our minds, we may be able to promote some transformations in our perispirit without needing a physical body, like the experience of a physical body. I don't know if it's I'm going to be too far or what, but
I can see a lot of faces like, oh?
Okay, I have a question.
But hold on, otherwise I will lose my thought. Okay, Munir, first of all, I think we need really to understand fluids, because this computer in front of me is made of fluids. I am made of fluids. My perispirit is made of fluids. Everything is indeed made of fluids. That is a byproduct of the universal cosmic fluid. This is one thing. We, for many, many years, we make a big mix of everything we do not understand. We put on a big basket, and we use what is interesting to us, depending on the moment we need that particular sentence or knowledge. I think we need to start first being very clear, divide what is an evolved spirit that we know very, very little, and what we know as a spirits nearby where we are. And when someone says that we control everything by thought, it's not really like that. Cannot be like that. And I'm saying that after we split it between very evolved spirits and what we are, right? I don't like to talk about evolved spirits because we really do not know. We don't have enough information. Likewise, if we start to talk about God, we know what we think we know, but we have no information about it. Not even the spirits said they have. So I try to be more like earth to earth, like. We have different species. Human species, dog species, cat species. They all have an essence. To paraphrase, we could say that we all have spirits. The dog has a dog spirit. We have a human spirit. Likewise, as byproduct of our spirit, we have our perispirit, that we have no information how that is connected to the spirit itself, or how that is originated, or how his form is created. The only thing we know is that our perispirit assumes a human form in most of the cases, because we also have information about losing that format, if you like. So I don't deviate from that. I don't deviate from that because we have no basis to go. I don't have basis to go beyond that. I read a little bit about the subject, and I could not find anything that could really validate more than that. We do have some theories, but theory depends on what we want to see in the theory. So if the spirits are validating a theory, then I'm okay with that. And as you know, I'm trying to have that. But if they don't, I try not to escape from that split, evolved spirits and what we are. Going back, the main question is, we agree and we believe what the Spiritism teaches, that we are connected cell by cell, and as a consequence, our perispirit has organs and functionalities like our physical body has, or not. Also, we need to remember, you all, that and that's very clear in Kardec, the perispirit is a must-have for the spirit to be able to interact in its own environment. It means on the spiritual world. The spirit alone, without the perispirit, in this earth-to-earth realm, is not able to interact with the environment because it needs the perispirit. That's why when we move to a different orbit, we need to change perispirit, otherwise he would not interact either. So I just want to say that before I get lost. Too many information, right? So now let me open up that to Liz. Hi, Liz. Liz?
Hi, sorry, I was pressing my phone and hello, can you hear me?
No.
Oh,
Come on, go on.
can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh God, oh Guilherme. Anyway, right, about the case of organs, we have known, and there are many testimonies of people who passed away, and they feel the sense of confusion, they feel they are much greater, healthier. For those who pass in a peaceful way, are able to be in a more peaceful state when they pass to the spiritual world. And we also understand that the way the senses behave is completely different from the channeling that we have in our physical body. Like I smell with my nose, I have vision through my eyes, I hear from my ears, and we know by the literature and the testimonies that we had, the communications through mediums that we had, that these sort of senses, they do not behave in the same way. We understand so far that the sense of vision becomes wider. And for me, yes, as the perispirit being the mold for the body, it will have some functioning as there are going to be cells, there are going to be some organs, but I don't think it is 100% behaving in the same way as the physical body would be, and or kind of have the same structure as the physical body would have. Like we know from Astral City's book that people would consume some sort of food, some sort of liquid. If you're consuming something like that, you have to have something in a perispirit that would process that and transform it in some vitality or some different energy that spirit would be being benefited from, you know, have some benefit from. So going through this logic and going through some thousands of years of knowledge through the Vedas, which is one of the first knowledges in our planet to be talking about a spiritual body, physical body, cosmic body. They do talk about lots of other things, not in a physical body, but in a cosmic body, in the ethereal body, as they would put themselves. So we have lots of knowledge that is being spread throughout these thousands of years talking about it. So I am like, you know, with some of us that we don't understand 100%, because we have a lot more, like you said, Guilherme, about fluids to understand. And it is a concept that can be very hard for us to grasp very quickly, you know, because we are yet in a very matter-based, dense reality.
Liz, let me start with the Vedas part. I read the Vedas, right? I am a spiritist, but I like to research left and right. And here I refrain to the Spiritism teachings, right? Based on the Spiritism teachings, we have a type of points we accept, right? And as such, cell by cell, molecule by molecule, yes or no, is right or is wrong. And based in the information we have through our books and through our practices, I am forced to say yes, it is connected cell by cell. The functionality of those organs in the spiritual world is another thing. But I don't smell on the spiritual world from my feet. Doesn't make sense, right? But even here on earth, some people have more sensibilities than others. I don't need to be looking back to see that someone is approaching me. How is that possible? During the mediumship meeting, where in some cases our perispirit is a bit deflated, we also have different perceptions. Double view as example. So yes, there are other sensations, and I believe there are other possibilities for the same spiritual organs than what we have on earth. But I am not in a position to say that our physical body is not connected to our spiritual body cell by cell. Because if I do say that, I'm going against people that are way better than me. And we do have Kardec, we have people like other authors that validate that information, right? So I have another hand. Hi, Mulia, go on.
Hi. Now, Guilherme, could you say that then the perispirit holds representation of the organs? But these representation are not perhaps temporary. They are representation, meaning like you have, a government and you have different ministers to tackle different aspects. But perhaps you have other ministers that don't need to, talk to, day-to-day aspects of life, but something else, meaning that the perispirit is capable of doing much more, but at the same time, it has representations of the organs, because through the organs, it gets all the physical experiences, interaction, and everything. And when we incarnate, those are the points that connect to the physical body, as we said, molecule by molecule, so that we can take advantage of this physical experience. So it makes sense, and the rest stays dormant. And then when we return to spirit, we still hold representations of those organs because they have a purpose, they have a functionality. And I'm saying more than just the physical functionality while we are in a physical body, because we have the physical body, the process of material evolution. We got to a point where it has its biochemical processes going on and everything to keep the integrity of the body and body capable of keeping life. And that is actually control interacted from the department in the spirit responsible for all those areas. Because we know, for instance, when a spirit is about to incarnate, it goes through a process where it shrinks, not in size. I don't see it in size. It shrinks in terms of capabilities, and then the focus goes to the physical body to exchange all the necessary experience with the physical body. And then, of course, we keep a representation of that. Because if you say, oh, you have a stomach in my perispirit, so you need food, you're going to process the food. No, I have a representation of my stomach, which interacted with my physical stomach while I was alive. And when I return to spirit, some people we hear from the spiritist literature that it takes a while for some spirits to understand they don't need to eat food as such, but some of them, they get food for a while and then slowly they realize, and where is that coming from? Why do they think they need food? Because their organ in the perispirit needs food? No, because they, still perceive, the sensations of the physical body through the representation of that stomach in their perispirit. And so the rest, I believe, happens in a similar form.
Munir, a lot of people share the same vision as you do, but I particularly don't agree with that.
You don't? Yeah?
No, I don't agree. I don't
Why is
agree
that?
based on the knowledge received from Kardec and from André Luiz, and also what we see on the mediumship meetings. It is very comfortable to us to think that everything is a representation of our thoughts. We can do everything by thoughts and so on. Why is very common and it's very normal thing like that? Because for centuries and centuries, we've been told we would be on heavens, not need to do anything, just exist in heavens or burn in hell. So we interdict those informations for centuries and centuries, for millenniums, really. And we still bring that information nowadays. My take, based on the sources I said here, Kardec and André Luiz, is that our perispirit needs to eat. He does not eat thoughts. It's very clear in André Luiz. He does not eat thoughts. He needs to drink. He does not drink thoughts. He needs energy. And as energy, it needs to come from something. That energy does not come from thoughts. And your perispirit, you may also lose it. If you don't look at properly your perispirit, it degrades. You lose it. Oh, you don't lose perispirit. we need to study Kardec a bit better because it's there. We need to lose the perispirit to move to another orb. So we lose the perispirit. Likewise, if you want to talk about the reincarnation process, I would recommend Evolution in Two Worlds. That's a lot of information there, right? Not only when we discarnated, but also when we reincarnated. Most of information people ignore because it's like it doesn't make sense, or I don't understand, or I don't want to pay time or go deeper in some 2-3 words to understand what they mean, and then we get lost. So to me, once again, I'm talking about, remember the beginning, evolved spirits, no knowledge at all. I will not elaborate. Spirits earth to earth, like where we are and where we will be when we discarnate. We'll have our physical spiritual body. Why I'm saying physical spiritual body? Because for the spirit, the perispirit is exactly the same as our physical body, because we use our physical body to interact in our dimension. The spirits will use the perispirit to interact with the environment in their dimension. To me, is obvious, right?
Yeah, perhaps a question of words, because yeah, I wasn't saying that, you know, this representation needs thoughts to, you know, no, I think it needs, you know, the equivalent in fluidic terms of what you have available in the spirit world.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes when we say, you know, I have a stomach, it gives the impression I have to go through the process, similar process that I have here, you know, whereas it is a different process because it's no longer dense matter. We don't digest it the way we digest it here, but it's still, yeah, you can call, as I said, it's a question of words. You can call a stomach, it goes through a process, but a process that is different because, you know, what is used or what is processed is actually in the spiritual environment, made out of fluids, made out of a different level, instance of matter.
It is not dense to us incarnated. It is dense.
Yeah.
Exactly the same as is dense to us, to the perispirit. So we need always to keep things apart. If I'm talking about spiritual food, it's not dense to me here. But if I'm talking about spiritual food to the perispirit, it is dense. Perhaps with some different characteristics. But it's dense because we are talking about different dimensions.
Yes, to them, yes, it's real. I mean, it's
Dense
palpable
is dense.
to them. Yeah.
Otherwise, they would not need anything. Otherwise, they would not be described like they are clearly described by André Luiz. And there are other authors as well, but I like to stay with Chico, right? So we need always to be sure what we're talking about. Spiritual world, physical world. Anything from the spiritual world is not dense for us. Anything from the spiritual world is dense to the spiritual world. We have hundreds of examples.
Yeah.
We have hundreds of examples where the spirit comes to us saying, I've been hurted, I've been beaten. It is happening. It's not just like a thought or a representation, like a lot of people think, oh, this is just a memory. No, it's not. We have scenarios where they've been kept in that picture for 100 years or more. This is one thing, is a mental status. But whatever happens to the spiritual body, that is exactly the same as our physical body for the spirits, is happening. It's really happening. There are different laws? No. The universal laws are exactly the same. Doesn't matter where we are. But there are laws that are only applicable to our physical matter. There are laws that are only applicable to our spiritual matter. There are chemical compounds that are only applicable to our physical matter. There are chemical compounds that are only applicable to our spiritual matter. So we start to, if we have really to break a lot to be able not to mix, and it's very difficult not to mix. Very difficult not to mix. And I will say something to you guys. I am loving this study today. I really do. I wish every study was like that. But let's go back now to our initial question. Do we agree that our physical body is connected cell by cell to our perispirit, to our spiritual body? Because this has to be very clear. Do we agree with that?
Yes.
Very good, very good. Otherwise, I would be forced to tell you that you need to complain with Kardec, Francisco Xavier, and André Luiz. And there are others, but not with me. I'm just reproducing what they brought to us. Every time I will say something that I think is because I think based on what I see from them. But things that I'll say is there is because they said, not me. So you always have the freedom to pick up your mobile phone and give them a call if you're not happy with, all right? So now that we established that let me even stop sharing here at the moment because I want to see everyone. Now we established that our physical body is connected to our spiritual body cell by cell. And I can see Yasmin's face that because she was working in a wonderful book of perispirits a couple of weeks ago, I think. So she's probably agreeing or disagreeing with a lot of things she will hear here. That's very good. Now we need to move to the organic word again. It's very clear that mediumship is organic in Kardec. There's no argue about it, right? But now we can explode our perception about what is organic, because our perispirit is also organic. Is organic for the spirit. We established that we are connected cell to cell. We established that we also have organs with functions on the spiritual body. So this is organic for the spirit. Oh, I will throw a question here just to let you guys thinking, and you may answer later. So mediumship can be passed from father to father, from mother to mother to son. Is that something that we can pass to our kids? Don't answer. Don't answer. Just keep that in mind. Is that possible? Oh, my father, he was medium. I'm medium. My son is medium. Well, I'll stop here. I'll come back to the subject now. You think about that, and then we talk about that later. Right? So now let's talk about organic. If my mediumship is organic, and I'm able to conceive that my physical body is organic, and my perispirit is also organic, I need to take two things into consideration. We're going to use math here. Help me out, Munir, because I'm not very good in math. We have an equation, and we have few variables in that equation. One variable is organic physical body, okay? Plus another variable here, organic from spiritual body, all right? As Munir mentioned about reincarnation, shrinking and everything, I want to put another variable here. That's the mob. Is the but in English? I don't. Do you remember mob in English? How it's called, Munir?
Organizing biological model.
Well, yeah, organizing biological model.
Biological
right?
model.
So we have three things already in the equation. Two organic. We have the mob. What is the mob? Mob basically are the experiences, is the byproduct of the law of cause and effect that is prepared to our next incarnation before we incarnate, of course, right? So the mob is what will define the characteristics we will have in this incarnation to be able to improve what we did in the past. Is our driving mode, right? So we have the two organics, we have the mob. We also have another thing. We have the manipulation. is very clear in André Luiz. Our perispirit is manipulated before we reincarnate. Segismund reincarnation. So everything here is what become us, right? So at least one part of it has to be present to have a whole of the incarnation. So if we are medium today, let's thinking about Swiss cheese. Swiss cheese has a lot of holes, right? If you put one slice of cheese after another, to something to come from A to B, the holes need to be aligned. Every slice of cheese is one factor of this equation. When all those factors of these equations are aligned, we become mediums, ostensive mediums, right? Ostensive mediums. So what is organic now? Because I'm throwing something on you. You may not agree, but if you disagree, I truly encourage you all, find information and come back to me, because we're going to talk about it. Show to me that I'm mistaken, because that's important to me too. So now, in my mind, it's clear. Organic on the physical body, organic on the spiritual body. We have the mob, we have the manipulation, and we reincarnate. One thing that you also be able to see in André Luiz is that through the process of reincarnation, where we talk about a lot about perispirit, flexibility, I forgot the name in English to explain that the perispirit is like a rubber thing, you can do anything you want. It's not really like that. Because to reincarnate, you need to lose a layer of your perispirit. When you lose that layer, let's say like, let's think like a onion, that outer layer of the perispirit has to go out, has to go away to allow you to shrink. He's also very clear in André Luiz. So that means there are so many layers. We never even thought about it. We never bothered to go deeper. But when I am discarnated, I'm about to go into a womb. It's paramount to lose that external layer. Otherwise, I'm not able to shrink. Likewise, when we discarnate, when the chemical reactions happens in our physical body, I don't know the words in English, but when this process of death basically start to act in our cells, we create a layer, we create organs to the spiritual world. The information is there. All I'm saying here, the information is there. It's up to you guys now to find. Information is there. So we establish that mediumship is organic, and there's a lot of cheese layers to make it happen. There's a lot of work to make it happen, right? There's a lot of support from the spiritual world to make it happen. Because your mob and the manipulation of your perispirit is not you. There's a team working to help you out. There's a team working to make it happen. There's a team really putting a lot of faith on us to make it happen. And then we lose what we have to lose. Let's say we lose our perispiritual skin to shrink and to go into the womb of our mom. And we lose also a layer, a skin of our perispirit when we discarnate. Sorry, we don't lose. We create a skin around our perispirit, an organ around our perispirit to go to the spiritual world. Why I'm using skin? Because it is by far the largest organ of our physical body. If you don't know, the skin is our largest organ of our physical body. So that's just to make a comparison to make things easy to understand. So if we want to be medium, we have to have the organic part of the physical body, the organic part of our perispirit, the mob, the manipulation, the other things, but not to make a very complicated equation, I will, because I'm not very good in math. So we keep it short. We have those 4 items, and then we're born like mediums, with a lot of people vouching for us. And when we are called to be mediums, to work as a mediums, sometimes we don't want. Sometimes we do not commit ourselves to the cause, if you can say like that, as we're supposed to. It does not become our priority in our lives. The way I see mediumship is like a sacerdoteship. It's something like something that is priority. For me, it's priority, right? Understanding all the layers I had to go through is the minimum I can do, really. Because there's a lot of work to make it happen. And if I screw up and decide not to be a medium, not use my mediumship, or if I decide to be a medium that's not really dedicated for the task, I will come back as a medium until the day I decide to do something correct. And that's the way I see. But now that I don't want your answers, I just want you guys to think, to look, to search. Oh my God, the time's almost finishing. I'm talking too much today. If in my equation, I have the organic part of my physical body, at least this part has something to do with me passing my mediumship to my kids. At least one part of it. There are other ones that also can be together. I won't talk about that here because we won't have time, and that's another thing. But now I give you enough information to think about that question I did about you passing your mediumship to your kids. So I hope you guys are now thinking like, oh my God, he's really crazy. he needs assistance. Let's call Elsa. He needs assistance. But let me go back to the book now, because I think it's also important to return to what we have planned. So you guys are happy with what I said? Any question, any comments, any complaint? I'm also open to this.
I think we need to change this mob. I think you need to find another name in English, please.
Yeah, I don't remember. I found that already. But
because mob is a group of people to do something violent. So
yeah, I know, but there's another name in English, but I don't remember now.
Yeah.
Jack?
So when is going to be the next talk where you're going to expand on all of this that we've talked about?
I will only be able to do that the way you guys decide to do your own research, the way you guys start to study the matter and convince me that you did, because this is not the goal of this study. But if you do prove to me that you spend time on internet, not on TikTok, trying to find information, trying to get that thing together, I am willing to talk about that even longer. But I gave you basically the highlights of what I know and what I think.
Thank you.
So let's move on now. Let's start our study today. Item 76. Let's make what time is it? My God, it's almost finished. 10 minutes. Let us make a comparison. When we want to strike something that is some distance away, we first determine to do so without thought. I have a problem with that word, because that word can be interpreted in so many ways. Let me just explain why I'm saying that. I'll get a rock. I throw in the window. if we like or not, the first thing we did before we did the action was to think about get the rock and throw the rock away. Then I agree. On everything, there's a thought factor. The first thing is the thought. But the thought is not enough to make the rock move, jump into my hand and jump from my hand into the window. I need to put that in motion. I need to put that in motion. But though thought alone cannot actualize our intent. We need an intermediary which our thought will direct. A stick, a projectile, a blast of air, etc. Remember that we're talking about the raps, the noising, the movements, right? Moving of physical objects. Note further that our thought cannot act directly upon the stick. For if we do not touch it, it will not act by itself. Our thought, which is the spirit itself incarnated in our body, is united to the body of the perispirit and cannot act upon the body without it. In the same way that we cannot act upon the stick without the help of the body. Therefore, the spirit acts upon the perispirit, which is the substance with which it has the most affinity. So let me stop here, because the time is almost finishing, and I think it's important to say that. We need to have very clear in our mind that we are all, my internet is unstable for some reason. If I drop, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we've missed your last words, Guilherme. You're
Okay.
explaining about the perispirits, and then
Yeah,
it
okay.
froze for a minute, for a moment.
Oh, sorry. I think the most important is what I want to say now anyway. We need to have very clear in our mind that we are three things: spirit, perispirit, and physical body. Our perispirit may have different things that we're not going to even contemplate it here. It's better to put everything in a single basket to better understand. So we have our physical body, we have our perispirit, and we have our spirit. And a lot of people, when they refer to some things, oh, the spirit or the perispirit, without realizing that between the perispirit and the spirit, there are differences. There are things one can do and the other cannot do. There are things that to the spirit to do, as it says here, is paramount to have the perispirit, right? So when we go deeper into the words, when we go deeper to understand perispirit, to understand mediumship, we need to go and split things. We need to slice things, like we did earlier today. High spirit, what we are. Perispirit, spirit, physical body. They are all interconnected, but they are different things, right? Then the perispirit acts upon the muscles, which in turn enables the hand to pick up the stick and the stick to strike the target. I think he's very clear. He's very, very clear. But when we don't split perispirit from the spirit, we start to make a bit of gray area. When the spirit is not incarnate, it requires an instrument, the fluid that aids it in making the object carry out the impulse of its will. And we spoke about that last week too, right? When the spirit or the perispirit, now I have a question, my last question. When we move something, when we are discarnated and we move something, is my spirit that's moving that thing? What is moving that thing? everybody's afraid about saying the wrong answer, right?
I thought that is the fluids, the combination from the fluids of the matter and animal life, and the will of the spirit.
That's correct. That's correct. But in order to use the fluids or the combination of the fluids, when we are discarnated, we use our perispirit. Our perispirit, in conjunction with those fluids or this mix of fluids, is what is used to perform the physical manifestation. Very good, Denise. I haven't seen you. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, she's here now. I can see, because I don't see you all at the same time.
But isn't that the will of the spirit? Oh, I don't quite see the difference between the will of the spirit and the perispirit acting
Okay.
on both fluids.
Very, very important question. Very, thank you for the question. Very important question. The perispirit is just a form. It's like our physical body. Our physical body do not think. What think is our brain. And if you go deeper, it's not even our brain that thinks. But for a fact, for physical references, our physical body get the signals from our brain, and then we do things. So the will of the spirit is within the spirit that transfer the signals from the spirit to the perispirit. And the perispirit, in conjunction with the fluids, will be able to do it. Okay. Right? Well, I think we have to finish our study for today. And honestly, thanks a lot. That was by far the best study I had here. And I think if we can keep like that, discussing, talking, agreeing, not agreeing, that's the way we learn. I think that will be positive to all of us. So let me stop sharing my file. Let me stop recording too. See you all next week.